be honest. It just so happened. Here we are. That's what happens when you have a dream. Fuckers come true. Can't say that.
Still hissing in the background, isn't it?
Yeah. It takes a while for the pressure to drop, doesn't it?
What is it?
I'm rolling, so if you want to just go with a take on.
Hello, mate.
So, Chris Manning.
Hi, Mark.
I don't know anything about you,
Why not?
but my first question is, how long have you been in love with Dave Epton?
Right, well, our relationship started back in 2013. We worked very closely together.
How did the two of you meet?
We met in a sales capacity.
All right.
Yeah, and he was...
Who opened and who closed?
Well... I'd say Dave was more of the closer. It's a good question. Yeah, no,
That's why
Dave.
I asked it. Okay, you ready?
Dave's a good guy.
Excellent.
He's here now.
So, Chris,
Yes, Mark.
tell us a little bit about who Chris Manning is and what makes Chris Manning the Chris Manning Project.
The Chris Manning projects came up. I came up with the term the Chris Manning projects about 5 or 10 years ago. I came up with the Chris Manning projects about 10 years ago because what I found was, as a young person growing up and getting involved in music and different arts, I found that I enjoyed music, but I also loved the theatre. I loved being on stage. I loved film. I loved creating. So the projects was really just an extension of me and what I love to do, which is write, perform, sing, act, and just, I can't do one thing for too long. I like to kind of create lots of different things. So the projects is an extension of the thoughts that go on inside my head, and which means, yeah, I can mix things up on a day-to-day level, which keeps me happy.
And when did you first kind of realise you wanted to be a singer, entertainer, that type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, that's got to go way back. That goes back to probably, I remember being as young as three or four. Mum used to tape Top of the Pops, like back in the day. So my sister would go to school, and then Dad would go off to work, and she'd tape them and put them in. This is like proper top loader, clunk. I remember watching it, and Top of the Pops would come on, and I'd just sit and watch, you know, George Michael, Eurythmics, Michael Jackson, blah blah blah. Obviously, being a child of the 70s, just. I just remember watching it, thinking, that's what I want to do. I want to be up there, kind of performing, and that was as young as that's got going back to 3, 4, and then it just went on from there really, with school.
Yeah. And when did you do your first like public performance? Was that at school or somewhere else?
Yeah, it was school. That was Charleston Academy, back in my stomping ground, back in the Highlands in Inverness. An audition got posted on the wall, which basically said, we're auditioning for Wizard of Oz. And I was like, right, okay, I can do this. I can play the Scarecrow.
And what was the song that you sang?
Do you know what? I can't remember what song.
But it was out of Wizard of Oz, was it?
No, I don't even know if I sang the Wizard of Oz song. I think it was just a case of, I actually remember, I turned up, the auditions were at lunchtime, and there was this queue that went from the music block right the way out onto the field and round the back. And I was thinking, well, if I'm standing at the back of the queue waiting for an hour, I'm just going to be a bag of nerves by the time I get there. So I literally rocked up at the point where they were just about to start the auditions, and I just stood at the front and just went in first. I went, nah, so I'll go now, I'll get it out of the way first and foremost. So I literally just managed to sneak in the front, get in. I can't remember what I sang, it could have been anything.
But that obviously had a positive impact on you because that shaped you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that was it. I remember walking home later that day, and they had already put a notice up to say who had got the parts. And my sister was walking in front of me about 30 yards, and she was chatting to her friend and said, oh, have you heard about the Wizard of Oz? Oh, your brother's got the part of the Scarecrow, did you know? And I overheard them say it as they were walking home, and I legged it back to school. Must have been a good mile just to check it and look at it. So it was that sort of defining moment. I legged it back in. The school's empty. Some of the doors were locked. Went up, looked at this little picture, and there's the cast there, and it's like Scarecrow, Chris Manning. I was like, oh, I've done it. That was the start of it. That was an amazing feeling.
And you strike me as kind of like
I haven't stroked you yet, have I?
A guy's guy kind of thing. So at that age, how were your school friends, your little circle of friends, now seeing you going into this role?
That's a good question, actually, because I was a bit of a crazy little lad, and I, grew up playing football and did all of that, playing the drums. But most of my mates that knew me, they kind of knew that I had this kind of alter ego, and I, loved singing and performing as well as doing all the crazy stuff. So most of my mates, my close friends, understood why I was doing it, and they were really supportive. So yeah, there was that defining moment when we got 200-300 of your friends and family there at school. That's a big audience, like your first time on stage, and I was, we'd done the whole dance routine. It was the scene where the scarecrow's falling asleep when they're going through the poppy fields and all the rest. I did some slapstick routine and all the rest of it. Collapsed on the floor, and the audience laughed and they clapped. And I remember collapsing and lying down on the floor next to the fairy, what's her name, the fairy godmother? Fairy godmother, that's it. And me and her had this little kind of chat whilst we were on the floor, a little whisper, and she said, "How was that?" And I was like, "That was pretty good, like that was amazing." And we kind of just had this little chat, and I remember that feeling, thinking, it was unlike any other feeling I'd experienced ever. And I'd had an amazing childhood where I had all the freedom to do what I wanted. But having that moment was kind of like, that felt better than anything else that I'd done up until that point. That was really kind of a huge impact.
And I get the sense that there came a time where you chose between football and entertaining. Is that would I be right?
Yeah, that was kind of tough in a way, because my dad's he's a massive Fulham fan. He was born in Fulham. My mum's obviously from the Highlands, but my dad's he loves his football. So he coached all the football squads growing up. So I played for school, street league, youth league, then got trials for Inverness, Cali Thistle. And as much as I loved it and I enjoyed it, my heart was probably always going to be in music and entertainment. So there was a point where I had to make the decision, and it was probably in my teenage years, 12, 13, 14, over those years. So the bright lights were kind of screaming at me, and the football was kind of took a bit of a sideline. I carried on playing. I still play the odd charity match. Used to play kind of Saturday, Sunday league for a while. But yeah, my whole kind of ambition was more kind of tunneled towards getting up on stage than being out in the park.
And
at that
you're
point.
Not in Kansas anymore, so you're living in Inverness. When did the family move from Inverness south?
Yeah, we moved down, I think it was the 92, 93. Yeah, and that was a huge transition, because I remember my mum and dad speaking to me about it, saying, "How do you feel about finishing school and college and having?" Because we used to come down to the south coast for years growing up. Loved it, absolutely loved it. That feeling of waking up in the back of the Ford Cortina estate and looking out the window and going, "Oh, we're in England," and just the smell and the greenery and the sea and the seafront and everything. It was such a magical kind of thing to do as a kid, and then to have that option as, how do you feel about moving down south? And I think my heart or my head I would have left Inverness and kind of gone south of the border anyway. But the fact that we moved as a family was amazing, is exciting. I genuinely don't think, and this is no disrespect to Inverness, because it still is a beautiful place to live. But opportunities that I had from moving down south, I don't think I would have had the same sort of opportunities. I think just being in close proximity to London, and just the fact that there was so many more things I think that were going on that were more in line with what I wanted to do in the south, made it just that little bit easier. So it was a good decision that they made for the whole family, I think, not just for me, but for them as well.
And then your team.
2 seconds. Continue.
And in your teenage years, who influenced you music-wise?
Yeah, it was a combination of stuff, really. So it was a combination of the artists that were of the time. So everything from, a bit embarrassed to have to say this, but even Michael Bolton, some of the big soul singers. My brother was into kind of ska and Motown music, and my dad loves Motown and soul. So he was listening to kind of the Ray Charles and Stevie Wonders, but my mum loves country music as well. So it was kind of, I was having that mix of all those different influences. But it was a kind of, the 80s were really kind of synthetic, and they were quite big, as in, I wouldn't say big as in, there was a big sound movement going on, and I was feeding off all of that. Yeah. So it was everything from musical theatre that I had kind of listened to growing up to a whole bunch of different stuff. but I mean, I would take my inspiration from literally anything that I kind of felt magnetised towards at the time as a kid,
Sure.
whether it be Jackie Chan, because of his speed at which he worked and his work rate, to Michael Jackson and how he performed. It was anything that kind of just I looked at and went, I want to be as good or as close as I can be to that. That was kind of what I was aiming towards.
And mentioning Jackie Chan, you had aspirations of film?
Yeah,
That
huge.
type of thing?
Yeah, because I remember watching Police Story on Channel 4. Jonathan Ross did a documentary on him, and then they screened Police Story. It went out on Channel 4 quite late. I watched it with my dad and my brother. And the one thing that really struck me from an early age was the speed at which, the work rate at which, the risks that he took, the fact that he had trained from the age of 6 at the Pekin Opera School, and the work rate that he'd put in, everything came across on the screen. So I was just like, that's got to be speeded up. That can't be real time. But the more you watch it, the more you realise that he was doing everything in real time. I mean, he's the only guy on the planet who's employed 17, 18 stuntmen, and they're the same stuntmen that have worked for him for the last 30, 40 years. And if they get injured, he pays for it out of his own pocket, because none of them will get insurance from any broker on the planet. Which is kind of, because of the risks that he take. He just do it, roll camera, just do it. That's his philosophy, which can work out good, but it can go badly, and it has done for him.
And what
Also,
risks would you say that you have taken in your own career?
Yeah, I've taken risks in that the biggest risk I took was auditioning for Fame Academy, BBC Fame Academy, which was a great opportunity, and it was a great thing to have done, because I got an insight into how big the machine was and is still, really. It's 2002, and that really captured the attention of. I was 22, 23. Yeah, so I was still a fairly young guy trying to work it all out. But for me, at the time, they were looking for singers that could songwrite and perform, and they weren't just looking for a kind of one-dimensional character to perform cover songs. So as much as it was more credible than the likes of Pop Idol and X Factor and all the rest of it, it was BBC, there were still aspects of it that were very much kind of TV based. So it was just as much about the edit and what was going on inside the academy as it was about the performance. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more of the likes of someone like Sting or Jules Holland taking a masterclass, where it's, official kind of teachers or musicians that have kind of lived that life, and they're coming in, which they of course they did at times. But it was a huge experience. It was massive, to be 50, 60,000 people who auditioned, and to get down to the last 7, was fairly kind of, at 22 years old, was a pretty big deal, really. And for me, the payoff, emotionally payoff and all of that, was when we left the show, and then we started off the National Arena tour that started up in Inverness, well, Aberdeen, not far from Inverness. And my brother was there. Yeah, that was awesome, because my brother and my family were there. You got 10,000 people just going nuts, ready to see the show. Coming up, elevated from under the stage, with the full 10-piece band and all of that. That was, again, just your heart's kind of going beating out of your chest. So we did, the arena tour, the 3-week tour where we performed to 10, 11, 12,000 people every night for the best part of 2 or 3 weeks, was incredible. That was just something that will always stay with me, because it's something that not everyone has the opportunity to do. So as much as the TV side of it was, maybe the pressure of the TV side was at 23, 22 might have been a little bit too much for me. The live side, I kind of, it didn't feel pressure at all, because I'd always gigged. I'd gigged for years up until that point, trying to get a record deal with bands, and I'd done laps upon laps around the UK. So it was kind of frustrating in a way, because you've got the general public that are making a judgment based on what they've seen you in the last couple of weeks on TV, based around that little scenario. And yet I'd done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years of gigging relentlessly, trying to get deals around the country. So as much as the TV side of things was exciting and mind-bending and crazy, I felt more relaxed getting up in front of 10,000 people than I did, maybe just, being in the TV environment. But that's something that I think I would have got used to maybe over time, as a young person growing into it.
And obviously it's not all about work. How would Chris Manning describe Chris Manning personally, as a personal?
That's a tricky one. That's a difficult question, because it's up to my friends and my family to describe me, really. I try not to take life too seriously. I have done at certain points in my life, and it's kind of affects the head a little bit. It makes you. I think it's okay to think critically about certain things, and I think we all need to at certain times in our life. You have to be quite serious at certain times because there's certain things that you just have to do. You have to deal with. But most of the time, I'd rather just have a good time.
Okay.
So I'd rather have a good time and take life easy.
But you
Okay.
are a family man.
Yeah, man, I'm very, very lucky in that regard. I've got a beautiful daughter, Savannah. She's 6 and she's incredible. And my little boy, Bodhi, is 2, and he is, the pair of them are like beacons of light in my life. Like, I mean, just when Savannah was born, she, yeah, it's like getting me going now, like literally,
Sure.
as soon as I think about my kids, man,
Yeah.
and literally it fills me up, like
Good.
right now, yeah.
Good.
Everything that I'm doing now,
Yeah.
everything that I've done since my daughter came along has been for them. Yeah. So I'm, trying to be the best I can for them.
And would you like for them to follow in your footsteps?
That's their choice, though.
Okay.
Of course, it would be lovely to see them up on stage. I mean, Savannah's
Singing
like,
with you.
yeah, I mean, she's doing her ballet's incredible. She's doing her gymnastics and all the rest of it. And kids love to perform. Which kid doesn't likes to get up and like have a sing and a dance? But if she's magnetized towards something else, whether it's marine biology or writing or cooking or whatever it is, so long as she loves it and she's passionate about it, I'll support her. So whatever they want to be, I'll get behind whatever it is that they want to do. I don't want to force them into any box at all. It's their life to live, it's not my life to live through them,
Yeah.
which we all know parents do from
Sure.
time to time. But yeah, they're the best thing that ever happened to me.
So you like to bring a fun environment to people and enrich their own lives through your singing and your spirit.
Yeah.
Fair to say?
Yeah, no, that's a fair assumption. I mean, I think that's probably why I've always sung for a living, because it's the only thing that I can do. It's the most honest thing that I can do.
You get that instant.
And it's immediate, yeah.
Feedback.
It's just me, whether I'm performing my own music or whether I'm covering somebody else's.
Yeah.
It's just me trying to have a good time, and I'm always trying to involve the audience. I mean, for me, but the personal challenge is, and I still do it now after singing for 15, 20 years. If I walk into a venue or a room and I've got a few hundred people, it's 50 to 500 or 1,000. I make a decision before I walk in, and it's like, right, we're going to have this. We're going to do this tonight. We're going to engage, and we're going to get people involved, because there's no point in me doing it if they're not going to be part of what I'm doing. It's pointless. The DJ can do that.
Yeah.
No disrespect to DJs, they're great.
Sure. And now that brings us up to why we're now interviewing you today, which
Aye.
is the involvement of the Bournemouth community into
course.
the latest one of Chris Manning's projects, which is Never Give Up.
Never give up.
So how did you come about, first off, writing
Yeah.
such an incredible song?
Well, I've started writing again earlier this year, sort of towards the end of last year. Earlier this year, I started writing again for myself. There was a period of time where I had a lot of time off from writing. I think that was to do with just being a family man and kids and dad, really focusing on that. And then I was like, had all these inspired ideas. The biggest of which is watching AFC Bournemouth go from being this small club and watching the transition between what they were and what they've become and how hard they've worked. So I got wrapped up in everything, like the majority of people that are around me. So Poole, Bournemouth, Christchurch, everywhere I went, everyone's talking about it. I was sitting writing a song and I hadn't got a title for the track. The radio's on, they're talking about the upcoming games leading up to the Premier, them securing their Premier League. And I'm thinking, well, I write songs and I do write the odd cheesy kind of tune. I like a party song. I thought I can probably do this. So it was immediate. It was like, this is somebody. If somebody's already done it, it would be a shame. But I kind of did a bit of research. Nobody's done it. The club haven't done it. It was like it needs to happen. So when they secured their Premier League status, I just felt like it would be a real sin if they didn't have somebody create something that was just marked that amazing situation, that historical moment in time. And music's a great way of doing that. People should have something that they can sing and play at their kids, and even if they go up and come down, they go, well, we sung Never Give Up for a year, and they might sing it again if they go up again. It's something that they can have forever, and music kind of is timeless. So I wanted to try and create something that was fun, that kind of summed up the whole journey brilliantly, that was kind of really high energy, because the amount of energy that they've needed to actually get to that point of securing the Premier League status, I tried to kind of make it all happen, and I think I've done that. And the response that I've had from the fans already has been just like amazing. I can't believe how many people have said to me in the street, or they've heard it on little snippets, and they've gone, yeah, this is great. This is kind of what we need. We need something to jump up and down to. And actually, now that we're just about to release it and it's about to go live, now's the perfect time to do it. Because obviously we're coming up to the brutal halfway point in the Premiership. They've had a real struggle where they've lost three of the big players. And we kind of now need to remind the fans, and remind the club that, we didn't give up on them, they didn't give up on us. Let's remind them, we'll never give up. Let's keep fighting that almighty fight that we've got to fight now. Between now and next year, we've got a lot of work to do. And what better way to do it through music?
And having read up about it, I've also noticed that you are committing some of the funds, or all of the funds. What's the proceeds?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because this is a community. So I'm a songwriter, but the club is a community. The club couldn't exist without the fans. So the first thing was to write the song for the fans, really, so they could thank their club on behalf of what they've done, and to remind the club, how much they've believed in the club. So you got to remember that a team will only exist with the support they've got from the local, the fans.
Yeah.
The two can't work without each other. So then I thought, well, I don't want this to be about me. This is about the club. This is about the fans. So why not tie it in with a local charity? So Lewis Manning is the charity that I'd like to donate 100% of the downloads to, because for me it's not about financial gain. It's about writing a song, getting it out there, raising some money for an amazing charity, and hoping it does the absolute best it can in a short space of time that people download it. So we want to get as many people downloading it to raise as much funds as we can for the charity, which would be amazing.
And you have taken this on solely yourself. This is your one-man band.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
Sure.
Exhausting, so it is.
Yeah.
But it's been good. It's been a real learning curve. So I've done it all myself. I've invested my own money into kind of making it happen, because you kind of have to do a bit of work before you can even present the idea to anyone. Excuse me, that beer is quite gassy, so it is. So yeah, I've put in a bit of money, a bit of my own savings to kind of get it to where it needed to be, just to give it a chance, and produced it and written it. I've had some great support from some other people now, which is really cool. There's a lot of businesses locally that are happy to get behind it and spread the awareness, which is great.
But relying on your childhood and your upbringing, it brings you full circle back to the title of the song, which is
Never Give Up.
Never Give Up.
Never give up. Doesn't matter how bad things are going. Never give up, because there are some parallels. 7 years ago when AFC Bournemouth were pretty much zero, they were at a point where they could have gone into liquidation, to now. The 7 years has been a kind of a tough, challenging time in my life, going from being musician to father, musician, entertainer, and all the rest of it. So there's been a whole kind of bunch of emotions and struggles that everyone's got them. I'm no different to anybody else. So for me, it's kind of, I've got to that point. It's like, never give up on what you really truly believe in, and if you believe in it, it will manifest itself in this great big vibration that we're spinning through. So with a bit of luck, it's all going to come good.
And if you had one piece of advice to give the 10 years younger Chris Manning, what advice would you give to him today?
Stay cool, Rodney. Just stay cool, because if I was going to speak to a former version of myself, as in the Chris Manning, Fame Academy of Chris, I'd just say, look, you can do this. Stay calm, stay relaxed. You've got the ability, you've got the personality. Don't allow external circumstances to try and mess with your head, because I was a young guy then. I'm a slightly more level-headed individual now. I think that comes from having the kids and delivering one of them yourself with your bare hands. So anything after that is is easier. So I would just kind of look him in the eye and say, stay cool, Chris, you'll be fine. It's all good. It'll all come good. Just enjoy it.
Excellent.
Thanks, Mark.
Chris Manning. Pleasure meeting you.
Appreciate it, man. It's good to talk to you, man.
Too.
Thanks. Totes a mosh.
Perfect.
I'm totes a mosh, Marcus. Don't do that again. I wasn't ready for that.
Next, you're next.